What's going on, everybody? Jahmai Webster here with you, alongside CBS Sports national baseball writer Julian McWilliams on this episode of 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling truck for 48 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox. So, Julian, getting ready to start the second half, man. How are you, first off?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm here in Boston. Got an empty nest, so it's a little good to have that type of time.
That's awesome, man. Well, if you haven't noticed, I'm at Wrigley Field,
I
where
do.
the Red Sox are getting ready to start the second half off. Um, a huge second half because considering how they finished the first half, 98 games down, 64 more games to go, 10 weeks left in this season. I feel like that's going to fly by. You know how that is because once you get to this point, this is the second half, quote unquote, but not the official second half because, or this is the official second half, but we've already reached the halfway point several weeks back in the season. So it's just interesting how it's a lot shorter time, a lot more fast paced because the games will come and they go. And out the gate, the Red Sox got a major challenge with the National League leading Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, I think this part of the season actually goes a lot quicker. It's funny when I was beat writing, I used to always kind of say, should I say post All Star break, second half of the season, because it's not technically the second half of the season. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like the second half of the season's already passed. But I think when you're looking into especially you're looking into say this 3 game series that they had with the Cubs, then you go to Philly, then you come back home to the Dodgers. Then all of a sudden the trade deadline is there. Then after the trade deadline, it's like, okay, your team is sort of set, right? And this is what you have going forward. And I think for the Red Sox, it does. These days certainly fly by. I know there's certain days in August where it seems like it's a standstill, but it's totality when you're fighting for a playoff spot like the Red Sox have been, but they unfortunately fell short for themselves the last 3 years or so. I think those type of days they certainly fly by.
So four teams have entered the All-Star break in the history of baseball on a 10-game win streak. The Red Sox are now in that number. The 1935 Detroit Tigers are also one of those teams that did it, and the 1975 Cincinnati Reds. Both of those teams went on to win the World Series. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I think that's a very good omen. Now, Red Sox currently in the second wild card spot, just under 2 weeks left before Major League Baseball's trade deadline. But the toughest, and I use that in air quotes for folks listening to this and not seeing me, the toughest schedule in baseball. And I say that because, you can catch a team on a downswing. You never know what's going to happen. And basically, you have to, momentum in baseball as good as the next day starting pitcher. So, toughest schedule by win-loss record, but who knows what happens to the rest of the teams that are on the schedule. But it is tough because they got the Cubs. They also have the Philadelphia Phillies on the road to start, and then they have the Dodgers at home to begin the second half. But um, the question is, though, with 2 weeks left, should the Red Sox add, stand pat, or even subtract coming up at the deadline? How do you view it?
I think you should always be in a situation where you're trying to add if you can add, right? I don't think it's always like this people get caught up with the trade deadline and thinking like, oh, well, they're gonna have to make these trades within these 3 day window, right before because that's when everybody does. No, if you see an opportunity to go out there and get somebody, you should certainly go out there and get somebody. I think the Red Sox are going to be aggressive. If they're going to trade somebody like Rafael Devers, and I know we're past that, they have no
Yeah.
choice but to be aggressive, right? Like you've made the decision that we're not punting on the season. The team so far has earned the right to for you to go out and add players, right? With the 10 game winning streak and the emergence of players like Cedon Rafaela, how Trevor Story's been playing as of late, how William Abreu's first half, the pitching, Lucas Giolito, Garrett Crochet, all those, even Brian Bayo, who's been really, really good. So if you're looking at that and saying, we might have something here, I think you should probably always be trying to look and get and find somebody. It doesn't necessarily have to be 3 days before the deadline. If the right trade package comes up to trade somebody like a Jaron Durant for some starting pitching right now, then this is the
Wow.
best deal on the table. You do it.
I thought it was too early for you to go there this morning. That's something we'll tap into a little bit later. But already throwing Jaron Duran's name out there as far as I mean, he's obviously been in the trade rumor certainly.
He's
But you kind of lead me to my next point, I guess.
like that's. I mean, he
No,
would
go
look.
ahead, please.
You wouldn't be in trade talks if you're not a good player, right? Especially at the deadline. He's been a good player for them. Now the question is, do they want to take that out the clubhouse? What would that mean for the clubhouse after taking out such a presence like Rafael Devers? Obviously, Jaron isn't to the player that or the talent that Rafael is hitting wise, but if you're looking at what he means to the clubhouse, I think he means certainly more than we give him credit for.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you could argue that his impact will be felt more than what Rafael Devers' departure was, just based off of what we've seen since he was traded to the Giants. When the Red Sox
I
were,
don't go that. I don't say that.
well, I'm about to qualify what I just said. I'm just saying the Red Sox were 37 and 36 when we were sitting on that plane when Rafael Devers exited. We headed to Seattle.
Uh-huh.
They've been 16 and 9 since. Craig Breslow, infamously to this point now, was quoted as saying, "We're going to win. I believe we're going to win more games with Devers gone than we otherwise would have had he remained with the team because of roster flexibility, etc." But they've kind of taken off since he's been gone. Obviously, you cannot replace the impact bat, but he kind of handcuffed you by being a guy who's like, I'm just going to DH right now.
Yeah. I think anybody can get on a heater though, right? What do the Red Sox look like when they're in that sort of that autopilot mode where they're grinding through a season, right? And then what do the younger guys look like? And I think that's what we've seen with this team. Like, look, they were 53 and 43 last year at the break. They're 53 and 43. They're 53 and 45 now. The 10 game winning streak that's helped a lot, I think. But
Yeah,
Jahmai, like those dog days of summers as people call it, like that's a real thing. These
they're
bodies get
approaching.
tired, right? Like these guys, when it gets to September, it's something about like August 15th or August 16th, somewhere in the middle of August, where you just see it on certain guys. You saw with Cedar Rafaela last year, where he was just wiped out, right? I think mentally fatigued, physically, all that. Having to play between shortstop and outfield, that took a toll. You saw Jaron in September, right? He's trying to play 162 games, but he couldn't. His legs were gone. So you see it all across. We see with starting pitching all the time. So I don't know what these younger guys will look like. Will Roman be the productive player that he is this year? I mean, in August and September that he was in June. I don't necessarily know
Yeah.
there because there might be some struggle that comes in there. Will Marcelo Meyer be a guy that can constantly go out there? Marcelo Meyer has not played in 100 games ever in his professional career. Like, let's just put that in perspective. Like, the guy's been hurt a lot, and that's the one thing that's held him back is he's been injury prone. So you got to give these things time to play out. And I think with Devers' bat there in August, I know he's not here, but at least that gives you some sort of buffer when you aren't going that well, because you can't replace 100 RBIs. You just can't.
Yeah, that's true. You certainly can't do it, but they've been piecing it together to this point. Question is, as you present, is this something that's going to be sustainable? Because you have so many question marks with players who have yet to prove it at the major league level, getting a lot of reps. Alex Cora has already said that Roman Anthony has to play. He's probably going to play every day for the remainder of the season. We'll see what that has on his body as it affects him. But the dog days are real. And it's funny because we're kind of past that stretch, like 98 games down, 64 to go. And those 64 are tough because the month of August it does feel like a deadlock. I think for everybody involved, it just feels like this dead period where you're trying to find and fight your way out of certain situations. We feel it, being on the beat. Broadcasters feel it. Certainly the coaches feel it. Everybody feels it. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But you want to go back to, if you want to look at this season in waves, ebbs and flows, as you talked about the team being on a heater right now, 10-game win streak, longest in a couple years, could go all the way back to June 6th, when the team was 10 and a half games back of the then
Yeah.
first place New York Yankees, and how far they've come to this point. And obviously, Devers was on the team at that particular time, but it feels like it's a little bit different now. And we've been covering this team for the last several years where they've been mediocre and they've flirted with going to the playoffs. And you felt like last year they were going to be a team that would have gotten there after so many years of not being there since 2021, that fantastic run, 2 games shy of the World Series. And it hasn't played out that way. I remember this vividly. Alex Cora saying at the end of last year when he had his press conference with Sam Kennedy, Craig Breslow, and he said, I do believe in his famous words that this will be the last struggle. At first, to start the season, it made you kind of question that. But now you're feeling like, okay, that wasn't the last struggle. You still had some struggles this season, but now are you at a particular point where you can take off? So if the Red Sox decide to buy, what type of player do you think kind of fits what they need right now? Is it a rotation starter? Is it a power bat? Is it a reliever? Is it somebody to try and pick up the slack that'll be left behind by the Devers trade?
Yeah, I think they got to go out and try to get starting pitching. The problem is, I think everybody is going to get out started once it gets starting pitching, and it's going to come at a cost. So it's going to be how far do the Red Sox want to dig in to go after to get that starting pitching? Do you go after a guy like Mitch Keller? Do you go after somebody like Seth Lugo? I think that's an area where they need to upgrade. They probably need another bat. I don't know if they'll get that other bat, but I think somebody who can, make extend the lineup a little bit more, get a little bit more power in there. I think that will work for them. But I agree with you, Jahmai. This year, and I was thinking about it, it does look different because you do have somebody like Trevor Story who's playing elite defense. You no longer have to throw David Hamilton out there at shortstop, right? You do have like Carlos Narvaez behind the plate who's been playing really, really well and is great defensively. You no longer have to have Connor Wong behind the plate, and sometimes he's prone to the pass balls. You look at, second base, I think has been short up with Marcelo there if he can stay healthy. You look at Alex Bregman, I think that's an upgrade from Devers defensively. So you look at Lee Giolito, Crochet, Bale and Giolito, they did not have them like this last year, right? Bale's been pitching really well as of late. Giolito's been pitching really well as of late. They did not have a
Yeah.
frontline starter like Garrett Crochet. So it is looking a lot different this year. And I feel like their chances of making the playoffs is a lot better because the players, for one, are playing better. And then you have guys like Trevor Story, who's playing a lot better. And then you have guys like Garrett Crochet, who didn't have last year.
Yeah, incredibly better. And you mentioned 2 guys right now that are stand. You mentioned a few guys who have been standouts and largely the reason why the team has been playing so well to this point, and even before that. I mean, it was more consistent, winning more than they're losing, winning more series than they were losing, going back several months before this win streak started. And it started with the pitching that they've gotten from Red Sox starters. And you mentioned Lucas Giolito, who has a .78 ERA in his last 5 starts, which is absolutely incredible. He's starting the second half here this afternoon on the north side of Chicago against Colin Ray for the Cubs. Next up, Brian Bale has a game on Saturday. 2.61 ERA, his last 8 starts. He has seemingly figured something out. And it may not always look pretty, but at the end of the day, when you look at his line, you take it every single time. If you were just reading that, I think from him, he seemed to figure something out. And then on Sunday, to wrap this up, you got Garrett Crochet going for you to win a series or sweep a series, whatever the case may be at that particular time. But the pitching has been pretty incredible. Carlos Narvaez, you mentioned him as well, another rookie who's doing some fantastic things and has really been a revelation defensively, offensively, especially offensively, because you didn't really know what you're getting. They knew that he was going to be this great defensive first catcher, but the offense has been a plus. And it's helped lengthen the lineup and bring some of those things that you said that the Red Sox could be using at this particular time. And he obviously is, you mentioned some of the question marks earlier. He's a question mark too, because he's already caught more games than any other year in his career. And I had the number written down somewhere over here, 606 and 2/3 innings caught, which is absolutely absurd. You don't really think about how often he's playing until you start to dive into the numbers. And that is a lot of games by, I think, to this point, at least by 20, 30 innings cleared of his career high, which is kind of nuts because of the taxing job that a catcher has behind the plate.
Yeah, I think the offense, if anything, is going to slow down. But I think if you're the Red Sox, so what, right? Like it's you got to try to figure out the offense or somewhere else. What he does behind the plate is so it's special for the team. Like it's very very important. They've lost a lot of games last year because their catching wasn't in the right position for them to be able to win games. They did not make the plays, and pitch calling sometimes was off. And obviously you saw that there were a lot of growing pains for Wong behind the plate last year. And I think if you're looking at Narvaez, at least you have somebody behind the plate that's reliable, that's really good at what he does, right? You could be a guy that a team. I think it was in the Rays series where it seemed like they were going to get on a run, and then first the runner got on first base and then tried to steal. Then Narvaez gunned him down at second base, and that sort of stopped the momentum in the inning. You saw so many times last year where it would be like a runner would get on first base, he'll steal second, pass ball, get to third base, then all of a sudden the pitcher has to make a pitch, doesn't, and the game is tied. So you don't have those type of fall offs. That's why I think this team looks a lot different going into this part of the year. But the key is though is like, can this hold up? And I'll always say like that'll always be the thing for me. Can Lucas Giolito make those 30 starts and look the same? Because keep in mind he's coming off of Tommy or the modified Tommy John surgery,
Yeah,
and you're looking at
internal
him.
bracing procedure.
Yeah, you're looking at him and you're saying, okay, can this be something that extends? So I think that's why the trade deadline is so important for them. I think this team has done what they've done, what they've had to do to this point. Again, like I said, to be rewarded with this, and I think it's on the front office to make this a better team. And then it's on the players to go out there and perform at least a competitive level, because I don't think you can't play like this the rest of the season, right? It's that you're going to lose series. Sedano Rafael has been really great for them. He's not gonna hit like that for the rest of the season. Like we all know that, right? That's part of baseball. Um,
Yeah.
but what do you look like when you're grinding, right? Is your grind is do you, what does your floor look like? Are you on a high floor? Like are we what is how do you get through the day to day? Can you get your 1 for 3s, your 2 for 4s, or 2 for 5s, or instead of avoiding the 0 for 4s, the 0 for 4s, and the 0 for 3s, or the 0 for 2s? And are you taking your walks? Like what do those days look like when you're existing just as an average player? So their average is going to have to be better than a lot of people's average, to
Yeah.
be able to run here and for the postseason. But I think they're in a really, really good spot.
All right. Well, we're going to figure out what that looks like here in the second half when they play the rest of these games starting here this afternoon. And you mentioned Jaron Duran as a piece of trade talks, and I want to get your take on that. We're going to take a short break here in a second. But you mentioned, and I want you to think about this, Julian, if the Red Sox would trade Jaron Duran or a player like William Abreu, how much would that improve in other areas? Is it addition by subtraction, as they did with Rafael Devers, or is it something where you're actually subtracting by trying to add, and it works negatively in your favor? So think about that. And as we take a quick break on 310 Left, brought to you by New England Ford Dealers, we're coming back with that answer and much more. Stick around.
310 to Left is presented by your New England Ford dealers, who've been taking everyone out to the ball game at Fenway Park for decades. Catch Ford next time you're at Fenway, including in the Ford Clubhouse, a full-service bar perfect for bringing your lineup together and for recording our live edition of 310 to Left. It's all brought to you by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling trucks for 48 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox.
What's good? Jahmai Webster, Julian McWilliams back with you on 310 The Left. We ended the break asking for the Red Sox trade from the Major League Baseball roster. You mentioned Jaron Duran as a possible name. I know William Abreu's name has been floated out there as well in the trade rumors. So is that a possibility? Do you think that they can do that and still maintain the level that they've reached to this point by getting rid of some Major League pieces and not prospects?
Yeah, I think their main prospects are at the big league level, right? And unless you're going to trade like a Christian Campbell or somebody like that, and I'm not sure if they'll do that at this point. But there certainly is a possibility. Now, if it's going to happen, look, we've seen Jahmai, like we've seen that Padre scout. They're relentless. He's been at that
Yeah.
game every day, right? Like it's almost to a point where you're just like, geez, man, like but it's like What do the Padres have that the Red Sox want? They have a gutted system,
Right.
right? So you're looking at this and you're saying, okay, it could happen, but honestly, I think there's a part of the Red Sox, and again, at the big league level, they could use Yoshida at DH full time, have William right, stay down in center, and Roman in left. All that looks great, right? But I think they probably want to give Roman some time to develop, and I think they like this rotation that they have in terms of rotating guys in and out. So you can get Jaron off his feet. He doesn't have to play 162 games. You can get Roman off his feet sometimes, so where he doesn't have to be out there and get exposed as a rookie trying to make it down the stretch, because pitching is only going to get better after this point, right? The guys are going to lock in more and notice what he does and say, okay, we're going to attack this, attack that. They don't really have the book on him yet. The book is coming, right? Just like how it came on Christian Campbell, it's coming for Roman Anthony as well. So I think they like the rotation of guys that they have. And, William Abreu, for as great of a season he's had a few weeks where he's been so, right? He's been hot. He's kind of been hot and cold. And you see there's been a lot of swing and miss. He's not walking as much. So, do you play him against lefties? Do you not? How you do? Like, Roman at least can hit lefties really, really well. So I think you're looking at this and saying, yes, there is a possibility they could trade him, but I also think that they like the equal equal distribution of playing time, if you will, of Roman and Willier and Jaron, and getting those guys, 400, 500 plus ABs without it being too taxing.
Yeah, I know. I know Red Sox fans would be incensed if Jarren Duran was traded. It's funny seeing the videos floating around.
He's frozen. Yeah, I agree. I think that the Red Sox the fans would be incensed, right? You lose a lot of players here and there, and I think especially with the Devers trade, it doesn't make it that easier for them to be able to go to part ways with Jaron. But if they see a trade again that they have to make it. If you can upgrade and get you another starter, you do that, because look, if you put, like, say, a Seth Lugo in there with a Garrett Crochet, a Brian Bayo, and Lucas Giolito, and that foursome, all of a sudden you really, really have something, right? Even with Brian Bayo being who he is, and what he's come into, if you have him, he's sort of the X factor for me, right? Brian Bayo, can he stay in his own brain enough, keep his composure enough to put together a quality season that can get this team to the playoffs? And I think if you add another guy, like a Seth Lugo, even a Mitch Keller to the situation, I think you're looking at this team saying, they could make it possibly not just a run to the postseason, but a run in the postseason. Keep going. All right, let me think. Yeah, and then again, I think that their center field situation is something that we talked about. I remember talking to Alex Spear on here, Jahmai, and he was talking about Cedon and who would you rather trade, Cedon or Rafaela? I mean, Cedon Rafaela or Jarren Duran.
All right, I'm sorry. that was a little nuts, man. The sun got to me, and my iPad crashed. So I'm back with you. So I appreciate you for picking me up there. Um, but getting to the topic, as you talked about, of the Red Sox potentially trading some major leaguers, some major league pieces. It's amazing what Cedon Rafaela has done to this point, and how he has, been able to really pick up his offense. Since May 28th, I was looking at just his slash line: 331, 362, 662 on base percentage, 12 home runs, and 29 RBI. That has been incredible production from a guy who has been incredibly streaky. Really, he's gotten with the hitting coaches. They've been able to make some adjustments to what he's been doing in his offensive approach. And it's been sustainable to this point. Just getting shorter with his hands, some of the technical things that, have maybe inhibited him from getting to some of those high velocity pitches or things of that nature. Right now, the starting rotation, as you talked about, has been pretty incredible. Last 12 starts in June, 8-0. To be sustainable, what Lucas Giolito has been able to do to this point. So these are all questions that we're going to be seeing as the Red Sox continue to try and keep the momentum going into the second half. And certainly their hope. Not being able to make the playoffs the last few years has been a struggle, obviously, for not only the players but the fan base. And these guys, we've come to see how much they care about the baseball that's been on the field. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens. And I'm interested to see how they begin this second half. But I think our next topic we're getting to is talking about this Red Sox team and is this sustainable? Do you think that the trade deadline, Julian, could be an opportunity again for the team to try and enhance what they've already done? Or do you feel like Craig Breslow is going to be aggressive here?
No, I think it could certainly be a situation where it can enhance what they already done. I think that should be the goal here. It's for to enhance what they've already done. And I agree with you, Jahmai, on the stay down tip. I remember I think it was a conversation on here I had with Alex Spear where it was like, who would you rather keep, Cedon or Jaron? And I said I would rather keep Cedon, and I think Alex said he'd rather keep Jaron. And my reasoning for keeping Cedon was just basically off of his defense, right? It was before he's tapped into this offensive profile that he's done. And I was like, there's not many guys that can do what he does. There's plenty of guys that can do what Jaron does, right? Like in terms of, and not saying Jaron's not not a good player, but I'm just saying that he's around league average and everything else, and Cedon's above league average in this one thing that the Red Sox struggle at every year, which is defense. So, but this was before the offense tapped in. Now you have the offense tapping in for this guy, and I'm like, wow, we might be looking at a star in this league, right? Now, does it hold up like this? Probably not, but I think it is a lot different for him. The swing has changed. He's a lot stronger than last year. That's a given. He's a lot stronger, and I think that's helped him out. And then he's not chasing as much this past month and a half. So it's not like he's getting hits on stuff outside the zone. No, he's hitting what he needs to in the zone, and he's taking advantage of it and suddenly drawing some walks, at least more walks than he has. I think he already has more walks this year than he had all of last year. So there's progress there on that part. And I think if you're looking at this team, they're gonna have to try to enhance it by adding, and I think they probably will. But that does come at a cost of subtraction. Where that comes from, I'm not sure yet, but it certainly will. Somebody will be subtracted from the lineup.
All right, so they got to get it done by adding. But what about the guys who are here now? Who needs to really pull it together? I think for my money, it's got to be a picture of the caliber and the history of Walker Buehler, what he's done in this league to this point. This season has obviously been a struggle. He's been on record saying that as much, even when as far as saying, if the playoffs were to begin, I'm not sure that I'd be one of the guys in that rotation because of how bad he's been pitching. How much does he have to try and pull things together? And they started to trend upwards for him over the last few starts, but how much does he have to get to the pitcher that they signed for all the money that they did?
Yeah, I mean, it's important, right? I think when people this year were saying that the Red Sox, this is their best rotation that in baseball at the beginning of the year. People were legit saying that, right? I think you go on several podcasts because you looked at the fact that you had Giolito. You looked at the fact that you had Garrett Crochet, you didn't have it. You looked at the fact that you had Tanner Houck, who was an all-star. And then you said Brian Bale, who can be this dark horse. But you have Walker Buehler, who's a proven winner, two-time champion, just came off a World Series, had a great stretch, although it was just 10 innings in the playoffs. So you're looking at it and saying this rotation could be interesting. And he just hasn't lived up to that billing, right? And I think a lot of it has to do with with his fastball been getting hit as hard as it's been getting hit, and he's a guy that depended on his fastball a lot, his four seamer. Now he's all of a sudden implemented a cutter, and a lot of times you see guys implement a cutter that could either be a good thing or a bad thing. And so far, it's just been so for him. So I think you're gonna have to. He's definitely gonna have to step it up, right? They're definitely gonna have to be in a situation where they're looking at him and saying, "Hey, can we go to you for 4, 5, 6, 7 innings of an outing without you giving up 6, 7 runs, and all of a sudden you just having to wear it because we don't want to have to go to our bullpen that early." So I think he's going to have to put himself in a situation to be able to thrive for this team, and just based on his track record, right? I would give him a good chance of being able to do that. But there's also another side of me that says, okay, is he over the hill? But that would be tough for me to put on a player when they're just 30-something years old. So, and especially a pitcher. If it was a position player, it might be a little bit different. So I think it's definitely important for him to be able to do what he does and have to go out there and put together quality starts for him, because they really, really need him.
You mentioned Jaron Duran earlier, too, who the San Diego Padres have been salivating about for the last several weeks with their scout basically camped out at Fenway Park. And who knows what more he needs to see from the player. But Jaron, he has had a bit of a up and down stretch offensively, too. He started to get some things together as well. But the inconsistencies have been there more than not for him this season. And I think for periods of time, that's kind of frustrated him. He's a player who expects greatness out of himself every time that he takes the field, but trying to become a reliable contributor for this team, because I think the offense starts with him at the top, especially when he's in the leadoff position. Um, how much, though, do the Red Sox need him to be more of what he was last year and find that consistent ability to not only get on the bases, but create havoc on it and to set the tone?
Yeah, I think last year was sort of this anomaly, right? Like I think it was this one-off season for him, where it's just like everything was going right. And I think a lot of players have that in the league, as you see sometimes they have these one-off seasons. I don't think he's the quality of player that he was last year, but he can at least get to some semblance of that, and that would help this team out a lot. Look, this team, and I remember in 2023, before they nosedive, I remember Jaron Duran hurt his toe in New York, and after that they seem to go down. I think he's an engine for this team when he's going well, right? Like, he's a guy that provides speed, can get on the bases and change things. I think you're looking at him and you're saying now, hey, let's go. What's going on? And he got it going a little bit toward the end, but it's not enough for this team to be able to do things. And I think if you're looking at his OPS, 750 OPS, he's going to have to get that up. The strikeouts. The thing that's been surprising for me the most, Jahmai, though, is that I think people aren't talking about enough is the defense. He hasn't been good defensively at all in the outfield. He looks hesitant out there. He looks a little skittish. He gets a little bit of happy feet. He's dropped some balls out there in the outfield that are routine plays. So, and I think he's a minus. He's a minus defensively, and he has not played that much center field, right? I know he plays the ball off the wall really well, but he's going to have to go out and make some plays, and that has been sort of the most surprising part for me, is that you really saw him take strides the last two seasons under Kyle Hudson. So, but now
Yeah.
you're looking at him and you're saying, okay, he's really regressed in a sense, and he's going to have to figure that part of it out.
Okay, so that's another piece of the Red Sox puzzle, for guys who need to get going offensively. But as we were discussing, Cedar Rafaela, Trevor Story carrying the offense right now in many aspects and finding their groove. Cedar, 10-game hitting streak where he's hitting 421 over that span. Trevor Story, 3-game hitting streak. Just came up on 1,000 career games last Friday at Fenway. Big milestone for him. But in his last almost 40 games, he's batting 319, 911 OPS. And these guys have basically solidified some production. Now, Trevor, naturally pretty streaky. The whole point for him is trying to get those lulls, as you said, not his floor being absolute mediocrity or being in a position where he is basically turning into automatic outs, just rollovers or whatever the case may be. So his work and his effort, which he's been able to do for the last month and a half, has been not having the points in time where he's not producing at an all-star level, just not being as low, staying league average, which has been great. So when you consider what those guys have been able to do, how much or how critical really is it that they continue to produce at the level that they had, or at least produce at a level that is kind of, you know, at the line and not below um, what they've been able to do this season? Like, how critical are those two pieces to this Red Sox lineup as they try to make this dart towards the end of the season?
Certainly, and like always knew that Trevor's defense was going to be there, right? Like that's something that he does in his sleep. I mean, even when he was struggling last year or the years he's been struggling with injury, he can do that, right? He can move over even to second base and do it if he had to do it. He was going to be a Gold Glover there at second base had he not been injured that year. But I think from the offensive standpoint, this is the guy that they were looking for, right? This is the guy that people in Colorado that I've spoken to, beat writers, people who've covered Trevor for a long time MLB writer Thomas Harding said, I don't think you've really seen Trevor.
That's your man.
Yeah, right, my man.
Thomas is a cool cat, man.
He's like, I don't know, you have not seen Trevor yet. That's how he talks. So he's like,
He certainly does.
You're right. I hadn't seen him, and then this year you're starting to see, and not only just the homers, right? It's he's taking his balls up the middle, right? He's taking the ball to right field, right? Like it's those little things. He's not striking out, and I think he's going to have those seasons or those times where he does strike out a lot. That's not going anywhere. But you can't be that automatic out that he was the last 2 years. And I think for Sedan, like this is huge. What he does defensively is huge. I always say if I can get 240 from Sedan with 15 to 20 homers. Exactly. If I can get 240 from Sedan with 15 to 20 homers, I take that any day over many, many outfielders, right? That's a really good, really, really, really good player.
Yeah.
Because of what he does defensively. But he's adding in 260, 270. Hold on now. Like that's a different beast
That's
right
on
there.
the cake.
That's 270 and he get 280. Now we're talking about something. So they definitely have something brewing over here in Boston, I think. But it's all about maintaining it, as you know, Jahmai, because there's always a counter to a counter, just like in boxing, your favorite sport.
Yeah, I love the sweet science, and that leads us to our next segue. What the Red Sox are getting out of Ceddanne Rafael is almost similar to what the Cubs are getting out of Pete Crow Armstrong. We're going to talk about the Cubbies on the other side of the break and examine this series that's coming up, a pivotal one for the Red Sox. And hey, relax. We'll talk about that in a second. You're listening and watching 310 to Left, brought to you by your New England Ford dealers. Jahmai and Julian back with you after this short break. Welcome back, everybody, to New England 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers. Jahmai Webster, Julian McWilliams, CBS Sports national baseball writer. We're talking about the Red Sox getting ready to begin this second half here at Wrigley. If you haven't seen, and I've transferred myself to several different areas around the ballpark because of some technical issues with my iPad overheating and etc. But we're making it work. Julian has stepped in courageously to pick me up in times where the technology has let me down. So I appreciate that, Julian, very much. But it's been pontificated upon that the Red Sox have the toughest remaining schedule of all Major League Baseball teams to go into the second half. And obviously it's a murderer's row out the gate. The National League leading Cubs, the first place Phillies, and then the first place Dodgers, who are in the National League West. Can the Sox hold on to this wild card spot that they have right now, or is this a three-game or three-team series to begin the second half that is going to bring them back to maybe some reality by some naysayers?
I think they could keep it going. Why not? Right? Like I think they played well against the Rays. That was a team that came in. They weren't hot, but they were playing relatively well. And people questioned the Red Sox can beat them, and they beat up some quality pitching. The thing that I'm looking at most, Jahmai, is the run support. Right? I'm looking at the Rays series, just like they didn't hit all that well. They won those games, but Ceddanne carried the offense for a lot of those games. And I'm looking at these teams now. I'm saying, okay, They have a series coming up with the Cubs that you're at obviously right now with all the technical issues. Then they have the Phillies, and then they have the Dodgers, your hometown team, you the team you grew up with. Uh,
Yeah.
I think that this is going to be basically not, I wouldn't say a tell all, but this is a huge part of their season and how they get through it. If they can get through this with, say, I don't know, somehow like 6-3 or
6-3
split,
would be amazing.
that would be amazing, right? But
That
if you
means you
turn out
probably won every series, two out
right,
of three in every one. So that would be amazing.
right, so that's the idea. That's probably not going to happen. It'll probably be a little bit. They might lose one of these series. I'm not going to bank on them to win all three series, but
Yeah.
if you can get out of here and say just only losing one series out of the three and not getting swept in that series, even if you do, not getting swept in that series, I think you put yourself in a really good spot. So, can this team build on this? Certainly. I know if you're Sedan though, you're probably like, dang, I wish the All Star break didn't happen when it did,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
who wants to go into the All Star break with like on the heater like that and winning like that? So it's going to be
Right.
interesting to see how they come out this afternoon when they play Chicago, because that's going to be a real sign of like, okay, can they pick up right where they left off?
Yeah. And I asked him that same question on Sunday heading out of the All-Star break. Like, how are you going to manage to stay hot? He wasn't worried about it. He was like, just rest, man. I'm gonna be taking some time with my family. So he was actually looking forward to it because he's been grinding. And two of these games or two of these series began for the Red Sox on the road, obviously. And then they play the Dodgers at home. They play well at home. 12 games over 500, 32-20. So it's been fantastic. And I think that's important for this stretch because of the quality of teams that they're going to be playing out the gate. So we'll see what happens with that. But as we continue on to the next portion of our rundown here, does the schedule push the front office to be more aggressive at the trade deadline? I think we hit that already. Um, I had a we had a Red Sox manager, Alex Cora, tapping into. He's trying to throw me off my game. He's over there, but um, given the standings and the schedule, uh, how much can the Red Sox really keep the momentum coming out, as you talked about?
We attack Jahmai. You got really thrown off your game because you asked me the same questions. He must have really threw you off.
Di- oh yeah, yeah. You know what? Actually, let me get something from him here in a second. We're going to take a short break. Coming up on the other side of 310 to left, we're going to put a wrap on the show. Presented by your New England Ford dealers, Jahmai, Webster, Julian, McWilliams here with you as we get ready for the Red Sox to begin the second half of the 2025 season. We're back with more in just a minute.
310 to left is presented by your New England Ford dealers who've been taking everyone out to the ball game at Fenway Park for decades. Catch Ford next time you're at Fenway, including in the Ford Clubhouse, a full-service bar perfect for bringing your lineup together and for recording our live edition of 310 to Left. It's all brought to you by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling trucks for 48 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox.
Back here at Wrigley Field, sweating now because the sun has come out pretty strongly here. Jahmai Webster, Julian McWilliams here with you on 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers. As we mentioned, Julian, the Red Sox have the Cubs out the gate, excuse me, and they perform well at home. Dangerous team, obviously first place for a reason because they got a lot going as it relates to the pitching, the defense, the all-star ability that they're getting out of Pete Crow Armstrong. PCA has been incredible. How do you view this series coming out of the break? What are some of the pitfalls that the Red Sox may be trying to stay clear of as they face off against his Cubs team at home?
Yeah, I think Pete Crow Armstrong is up there as one of the most dynamic and elite players in the game. I mean, you're looking at a guy that's 26 homers and 30, 25 or 30 stolen bags or something like that, and
Yeah,
he's
it's crazy
he's an
when you think
elite.
about the production.
He's
This
an
guy's
elite, and
incredible.
he's doing it in center field, and he's playing a plus
Yeah,
center field too. So that's not an easy task to do. I think the what you're looking at is now a Red Sox team that's basically going to have to come out firing. I think they're going to have to come out with that sort of intensity, and I think it's going to be have to establish through their pitching. And their pitching, what better stars do you want than, like you said, Lucas Giolito, Brian Bale, and Garrett Crochet to end it? Because I think that's the threesome that you want on the mound to face this team. That this team just the Yankees swept the Seattle Mariners, and then they came in and they beat the Cubs in the first game, but lost the next two. So you're talking about you're talking about a team that's this relentless lineup. I think this relentless lineup of guys, and I think the Red Sox have been that to this point too. But it's a lot of talent on that field, and should be exciting. Should be exciting series all around.
Yeah, definitely. And if the Red Sox can take 2 out of 3, as we talked about, which could be probably the second best case scenario outside of sweeping a team like this, but if they can take 2 out of 3, 10 days before the All-Star break, going into Philadelphia, what kind of momentum do you think that builds for this Red Sox team, who is already extremely hot going into the break?
Yeah, I think it definitely makes the like as they say the vibes better, right? But I don't know the momentum, like you said, is as good as your next day starter. And man, them starters over there for Philly, like those guys are real, right? Like those are some Zach Wheeler. I saw him pitch 2 weeks ago against the Padres, and it just seemed like he was just getting stronger and stronger as the outing went on. Like I know we talk about Paul Skeens,
Well,
but
how do you think? How do you think that they view the Red Sox starters? I mean, the momentum has been great. 12 games in July, they've been 8-0 with a 2.05 ERA. They haven't been slouches themselves. Giolito leading the way. Bale found something. Obviously, Crochet. Then you got some guys who are trying to figure it out. So I think the Red Sox pitching has been good too. You can't discount it.
no, I'm not discounting it. But I think the Phillies pitching staff is just more proven, right? You're talking about even Garrett Crochet. Like, has he done this before? I expect him
No.
to be able to do it. Has he done this before? No, he hasn't done it. Giolito hasn't done it in a couple of years. Brian Bale sort of put together a bad first half and the good second half. So we'll see what happens. I think the Red Sox ultimately are in a good
Yeah.
position. I'm not hating over here, Jahmai. Don't worry. I'm not
All
hating on you.
right, all right, yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad. We just wanted to establish that, man. And we're under the gun now. I'm starting to sweat, and I certainly enjoyed this, Julian. I appreciate you coming on and doing this. I appreciate myself for also coming on and doing this. It's been a massive labor of love. I don't want that to be discounted either. But thanks for coming on, man. And it's going to be an exciting second half. I think this will be different. 64 games to go. Look forward to see you at the ballparks across America as well.